Hello guys, welcome back to another video on the Stratus Forecast Weather Channel. In today's video we're going to be going over a little bit of a pattern switch in the upcoming week and potentially into the first couple of weeks of February. We're also going to be going over a potential couple of winter storms that could be bringing potentially severe weather back in the forecast, as well as some more snow in the forecast as well. We'll also be talking about something that we don't typically see very often, and I remember these winters long ago where we have snow squalls and snow showers that come through the state of Maine. That could be returned in the forecast as well. We'll also be going over a bunch of other things, so yeah, let's get right into it. So right now, we'll just go over the radar and satellite. So we got some snow showers happening around the Edmonton, Canada area, particularly just some cloud cover for most parts of the area, specifically in parts of the upper plains and Pacific Northwest. We will be dealing with lighter to heavier snow showers at times, potentially even snow squalls. Snow showers happening in the lower Ohio Valley, throughout the parts of the Mid-Atlantic as well, and into parts of Tennessee as well. We're seeing some snow showers out there. Most of these are going to be your lake effect enhanced snowfall, lake effect snow showers and snow squalls. But as you can see over the last couple of hours, that cloud cover has moved over. A little bit of a disturbance moving up the coastline near the Virginia area and the Mid-Atlantic coastline around the Carolinas, and stretching all the way down in parts of the Gulf Coast as well. Rain showers happening in parts of southern Florida, and showers happening around the southwest of the Houston area, and cloud-covered snow showers happening across Maine, and across the Pacific Northwest we're just dealing with cloud cover and some snow showers. Let's take a look at those temperatures out there. So as far as those temperatures out there, we are looking pretty cold out there as far as the upper plains go, in parts of the northern half of the country, especially in the Great Lakes region, and as far as the northeast and mid-Atlantic go. We're starting to get more milder into parts of from the southeast, as temperatures begin to finally rise out of the bone-chilling air that came through after that historic snowstorm across parts of the southeast. But temperatures remain in the 40s to near 60 degrees in much of the southeast, especially across areas of Texas. But as you notice, that cold air is building up again, which means we're going to see another cold blast tonight, and we'll see those temperatures go back down into potentially even the 30s across the southern half of the country. One particular spot on the map right now that is particularly colder is up near Thunder Bay, where we have a temperature reading of, I just saw it was -2 degrees, I believe. -2 degrees up there near Thunder Bay, just along the Canadian and U.S. border. But these temperatures will begin to crash again tonight before we finally get some warmth in the forecast for parts of the southeast. Temperatures across the California area dealing with 60s to near 70 degrees in most spots. We're also dealing with a wildfire threat as well, and we might talk about that a little bit, as winds will be gusting potentially between 60 and 100 miles per hour, like we said. But obviously the most warmest spot on the map as of now is in parts of California, where we have a temperature reading of around 72 degrees. Now we're going to get into the Climate Prediction Center updates. So here's the first update by the Climate Prediction Center, particularly the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook across the nation. The 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Here we go. So below average temperatures expected across much of the northeast and parts of the mid-Atlantic, while above average temperatures now are expected in parts of the upper plains through the around the Great Plains area in the Midwest, and that stretches down into portions of the Texas area and all the way down through Florida and the Gulf Coast, especially around the far southern half of Mississippi and the southeastern half of Louisiana, dealing with an above average temperature. Other spots that are above average temperatures will be in the bullseye between all 4 states of Nevada, I can't remember what state that is, but Idaho and Utah. And we have a below average temperature potential for parts of the southwestern half of the country and the Pacific Northwest as well. As far as the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook by the Climate Prediction Center, or the CPC, below average temperatures expected for the upper plains and parts of the Pacific Northwest, while pretty much the central parts of the United States, this goes through the upper plains, well, not the upper plains, but the lower Ohio Valley, into parts of the mid-Atlantic, northeast New England, and it does stretch even to parts of California, but you can notice a little circle around where temperatures will be near around average. Above average temperatures expected for the entire state of Florida. This goes for parts of the southeast as well, and that does extend all the way through Texas and all the way back up to Nevada. And yeah, so here's the week's 3 to 4 day temperature outlook by the CPC, or the Climate Prediction Center. Below average temperatures expected for parts of the Pacific Northwest and the Upper Plains. This does extend all the way down into the Great Plains, actually. And then equal chance is expected for the central part of the United States, that goes to the western half of the country, through the Ohio Valley, and through the northeast of New England. As far as the temperatures across the southeast, the mid-Atlantic, and parts of the Arizona area, we are dealing with leaning above average temperatures to likely above average temperatures, especially across the state of Florida. So I kind of want to talk about this a little bit because the forecast does kind of show this, actually. So this is the monthly precipitation outlook from the CPC, or the Climate Prediction Center, the Climate Prediction Center. So as far as the Pacific Northwest goes, we're dealing with above average precipitation expected. And there's much of a bullseye that stretches from the, this isn't particularly a part of the United States, I don't think. So I think this is actually, I don't remember what that state is called, but anyways, Great Lakes area that extends all the way through the lower, into the Dixie Alley, actually. And this does cover much of the interior New England and Northeast. And then below average precipitation expected for much of the Southeast, as well as bullseye hinting near the southwest areas of Texas. And this does extend all the way back up through parts of the Central Plains and Lower Plains. I don't know if that's actually a term, but nonetheless. So these are areas where particularly we could be seeing more in the way of snowfall or rainfall, and I think it's going to be more in the way of snowfall than anything. This is the seasonal precipitation outlook. Like I said, this is the seasonal precipitation outlook by the CPC, or the Climate Prediction Center. The Climate Prediction Center. We have, once again, above average precipitation expected for parts of the Pacific Northwest, and then much of the Northeast and New England, just avoiding the coastline really, but this is basically where you can expect the most likelihood of precipitation. This doesn't mean we're not going to see precipitation right along the immediate coastline, obviously. But mid-Atlantic, again, it's not saying that you're not going to see any precipitation out of this, snow or rain, whether that is snow or rain. It does not mean we're not going to see it. But the bullseye does hint at the lower Ohio Valley and into parts of the central United States. And then once again, below average precipitation expected for the southwestern half of the country and the southeast as well. So with this being said, like I said, the temperatures are a big problem right now, but these temperatures will eventually begin to warm up, so that won't become such a big deal, but it could become a big deal from weather models previously. So here's the GFS model. So it's quite quiet out there right now. I'd say this GFS forecast is right on spot, to be honest with you. Maybe a little bit hit and misses, but it doesn't get really interesting. So obviously we were talking about this area of low pressure developing off the coastline of the southeast, particularly near off the Carolina coastline. I was thinking maybe this had the potential to grab onto some of that cold air and potentially create a nor'easter for the northeast. There's a very low chance that that's going to happen right now, but I'm not going to completely hint it that it's completely out of the forecast. But as of now, it looks to go offshore. So that goes offshore. One good thing for the wildfire situation going on in California is we're going to see a little bit of an area of low pressure develop around the 25th and 26th. That could bring some shower activity to parts of California, specifically the areas that we're dealing with wildfires. Maybe a little bit of a shower and thunderstorm threat in the southeast, but this does not look like much of a severe weather threat in my opinion. And then we're watching this cold front come through. This cold front might bring the potential for snow squall and a snow shower event across parts of the northeast and New England. As that event goes through, here's that area of low pressure that comes through. It looks pretty strong to me, and we're still, around 5 days out. Now, yes, things can change, but this has become more of a trend with the European model and the European model and the GFS model of a little bit of a snow shower, snow squall event coming back from a low pressure system associated back in the Canadian area. Now, we had not seen this in a couple of years, actually. And if it stays cold enough, I remember actually seeing this for my first time. I remember experiencing a snow squall, so that would be pretty cool, actually. So then things get a little bit more interesting, but obviously that would be our first winter event. Now, not necessarily would this be a snowstorm by any means, but it would be kind of a cool event to see. Maybe because typically, in the summertime, we see thunderstorms kind of look in this kind of line with a severe weather threat. So honestly, this would kind of be like that, only we're dealing with snow instead of, rain. I don't think any thunder, maybe thunder snow, it's always a potential, but, you know, snow squalls are generally just bring gusty winds and some snow shower activity. It's basically a thunderstorm in the summer, only it's in the form of snow. So as we go, things become a little bit more active during the later part of this month, like the very end of the month. When we get this potential area of low pressure to develop somewhere in the Mexico and Texas area, this isn't this is kind of a general idea of what could happen. It could bring a little bit of severe weather to us. So as this goes on, kind of has a hard time fighting off this area of high pressure back here. Obviously, we have two areas of high pressure. The area of high pressure specifically centered around the northeast and the Great Lakes region looks to be a little bit on the stronger sides rather than the high pressure that's bringing in warmer temperatures across the western half of the country. So this area of low pressure is a struggle as a time, but eventually an area of low pressure that develops in the Canadian area will eventually be able to drag all this moisture up into the northeast. Now it looks like a little bit of a warm-up. Obviously, weather models previously before this major winter storm that we had in the south, and then obviously the winter storm that we had in the northeast and New England area was hinting at this as well as a potential warm-up. This looks more likely now, but the latest GFS run has come a little bit of an inside runner, but a little bit of cold air mixed in there, creating for a little bit of a sleet problem. And is this because it's in the nighttime? Yeah, it is. So that would make sense. So a little bit of an inside runner doesn't look like a major deal. But then things get more interesting. So we get more systems come through. Now, obviously, if you want a nor'easter in this time of year, you're going to want to develop somewhere south of, Illinois or something like that, or Missouri, somewhere in the southeast or even in the Gulf of Mexico. You're going to want something that follows a general path up the eastern seaboard. Unfortunately, that does not look like any of these scenarios are going to be like that. It's going to be kind of like an area of low pressure that develops, but that could bring some sleet and snow to the region and maybe some plain rain right along the immediate coastline for parts of the northeast and particularly Maine. Areas of low pressure developing around the California area could bring more relief to those wildfires out there. As we continue on, then another area of low pressure looks to develop. It looks cold enough to me, as far as the isobars go, to the areas of pressure to be cold enough to be all snow. And then things get more interesting as we go on, and then potentially another system. So it looks a little bit more active, and then maybe a little bit of a severe weather threat going on through the Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, and parts of the Alabama area. But other than that, that's what that looks like. So the European model is currently getting an update. So the European model is getting an update currently, but it is the 18Z, and we're still stuck on the 12Z, so we can't really look at that right now. But we'll get a general idea of what might be happening. So both the European and GFS model are indicating some sort of area of low pressure developing somewhere in the Canadian area, specifically around the Nova Scotia area. That drives through a cold front through much of the northeast that leads to a little bit of a snow shower and snow squall event potentially. It doesn't look as significant on the European model as it does on the GFS model, but that sometimes happens. And then a bunch of area low pressure develops. We call these clipper systems that come out of Canada and are particularly in this colder air mass rather than the warmer air mass. So the warm air mass does look to be building right now. And with areas of low pressure like this one in specific around the 1st of February, these sort of systems that form will drag in the warm air all the way up the eastern seaboard, and that's what looks like may happen. But we'll have to see what the next European model does. I'm going to keep these videos as daily as possible. I just don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do it. But as we go back a few stages here, this is, I think this is Sunday now, right? Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. So Sunday night it's hinting at some sort of area of low pressure developing in the southeast, and this kind of looks like a nor'easter, but it's a little bit too far inland. And obviously with a nor'easter, you have to have those strong northeasterly winds, and obviously it has to be off the coastline. But this does not look more like that. And then it looks to be more of a rain event than anything. Maybe some snow showers and sleet showers, or snow and sleet happening in the very northern tip of Maine. But other than that, this looks more of a rain threat. It could bring some severe weather to the southeast. I could see that. That system goes through, and then another system develops right behind it. This one looks a little bit more of a winter storm to me. With that reading right there, it's a little bit of a far inland runner, but this could be more of a snow and wind event, so maybe a blizzard-like potential. I'm not saying there's going to be a blizzard since this is still, more than 10 days out right now. So it's not likely. But Pacific Northwest still getting on those atmospheric rivers, obviously with snow and rain. Some of the snow and rain both could be heavy at times. That moves through. and then things become more uncertain. I'm waiting for the second European model to come through, especially that run, because I want to see if things change a little bit. But two different scenarios we should keep an eye on are obviously this cold front that runs through on the 28th through 30th, and that brings a snow shower and snow squall. Now, not necessarily are snow squalls kind of like severe, but you can look at them as thunderstorms in a way. I mean, you get snow showers and snow squalls, but particularly the ones that come with the cold front, kind of like thunderstorms in the summertime. They can bring a punch with some gusty winds. I'm not saying damaging winds, but you know, even snow squalls can bring some fairly gusty winds with them, and they also drag down those wind chill values as well. And I'm assuming how far this cold air is latched down into the northeast, this looks like a particularly colder event rather than a warmer event. And typically the snow squalls that I've seen in the past typically bring more of a colder event rather than a warmer event. It's rather colder than warmer in that sort of thinking way, but you know. And then I'd say probably that one would be the close one. And it's a little bit inactive, I mean, a little bit of a dry spell. Again, scattered rain and potentially even heavier rain showers and snow showers happening in the California area will probably give some relief to those wildfires, which the wildfires are still going crazy right now. It's this area of low pressure system, that area of low pressure in the southeast, specifically around Louisiana through the Arkansas, Mississippi, and through the Texas area where we've seen severe weather, and we just got hit by another winter storm. Not just one, but two, actually. This does not look like it's going to lead to anything, but yet again, we're still a few days out. But I'd say the first one to look to pay attention to would be this area of low pressure coming straight out of Canada, the one with the 982 millibar reading that brings down the snow squalls. And remember, snow squalls can bring gusty winds, so they can limit visibility. I mean, it's not enough to be blizzard, but, you know, it could be blizzard-like conditions, you know. And then another system made for developed, that one doesn't look as significant. So I'd say the first one would be the 28th, that major, potentially bringing in some heavier snow showers and snow squalls. The second event to be looking after would be around the first week of February. Again, we don't know the exact time frame, but the February would potentially be more of a rain event than a snow event. And then maybe another winter storm happening in parts of the northeast around the 5th of February. And then, yeah, that's that. So, real quickly, I want to go over the temperatures, really. So, the temperatures are going to finally change they're going to finally change things. The temperatures are finally going to get warmer rather than colder. So, obviously, you're not going to see this look every day. So, finally, we get that the winter becomes a little bit more seasonal, right? The temperatures become a little bit warmer, but I still think the Northeast is going to remain cold, at least for the next couple, this week and through next week, before we might get a little bit of a warm up through the first weeks of February, and then things look pretty seasonal to me through the first week of February. So I'd say it looks pretty good, but obviously you can see that cold air building. It's not a great sign, but it is a good sign for people to enjoy the winter. So that's that. We'll see what the GFS model wants to do with this. The GFS model just wants to pummel that cold right into the northeast through the 30th and waits a little longer to push that warmer up all the way up the eastern seaboard. But then obviously you can see that cold air building. That's not a great sign, because that means cold air is about to unleash the polar vortex once again, as it just is ready to another area of low pressure that just comes, or area of high pressure that comes straight through here will just drag those temperatures all the way down to the southeast once again. Now, I will speak about the wildfire situation again. So unfortunately, with the wildfire situation, it doesn't look like it's going to get much better. We'll take a look at the wind gusts in just a minute. But, you know, there's not much you can do about it, really. Rain would be beneficial to them and would make things a little bit better for them. But even that's probably not going to do much, because then once you get into another dry spell, you're going to bring up those wildfire concerns once again. So I'd say this is the most significant one. So this one is the day one fire outlook from the SPC, or the Storm Prediction Center. So it looks like a little bit of a critical area of wildfire concern, potentially across the same exact areas that we've been experiencing, through San Diego, all the way up through even, I wouldn't say close to the central part of California, but pretty close to there. The elevated, or not so close to there, but you get what I mean. Through the San Diego area and on northward and north and northwestward, then that elevated risk of wildfire, that fire weather outlook does look to be in effect for much of the same area. So if I was in California, honestly, I'd just stay out of there. I mean, there's not much you can do about this situation. Obviously, the firefighters are doing everything they can do, but you can't really do much about the situation. All the things you can hope for are pretty much just rain and more rain. But it doesn't. But even with rain, you can get gusty winds, and you're gonna need like a whole hurricane to potentially put an end to this one. And winds just do not help. So speaking of the winds, this will go through the next couple of days. I don't really want to use the European model for this, because the European model has been not once wrong, but twice wrong. No, not even that, 3 times wrong. Because they got wrong with the winter storm across the Northeast, where you were supposed to get like 5 to 8 inches across down East Maine, and you didn't get that, but that's not the concern right now, obviously. So again, the gustiest winds are going to remain probably east of San Diego and probably around the El Rosario area. And these winds could gust, and they could be feisty, upwards of 70 miles per hour, and I wouldn't even rule out higher than that, honestly. So this goes through tonight. So these winds don't really want to diminish, especially in parts of Mexico. Is this Mexico? I think this is Mexico. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. Mexico. So these Mexico area. San Diego dealing with gusty winds. And then finally they might let up, honestly. They may let up. So I guess this is a good sign, but obviously any sort of wind, whether it's a 5 mile per hour wind or it's a 70 mile per hour wind, it doesn't really matter, because you're still going to get that wildfire spreading, and it doesn't take much of a wind gust to drag those winds even more. We can go with the European model, but once again, I've not been liking the European model so far this season. But I guess those winds could get gusty, but I'd say it's going to be pretty bad through tonight into tomorrow at least. But there's that. Alright, so first off, I want to go over the snowfall potential. Now, I've liked the HRRR model a little bit more recently, because it's been a little bit more on the accurate side of things. But here's the GFS model for the next couple of weeks beyond then. So obviously, is this through? The snow squalls are going to bring a little bit of accumulation of snow to the Northeast. Probably not that much, but the snow squall can bring about an inch of snow in a very short amount of time. But nonetheless, this is basically what we saw yesterday. Snow in the northern half of the country, and southeast pretty much staying dry. Well, as far as snow goes. So there's the GFS model. Again, we will look at the European model once again. So here's the European model. I'd say the European model is a little bit more feisty on the snow, obviously, for the Northeast. I don't necessarily think we're going to get another 20 inches of snow in parts of the Northeast, like parts of Watertown, New York saw. But again, it shows maybe that snow extending all the way down in parts of, Kansas and parts of Tennessee, and maybe even clipping parts of Alabama, but it's not going to be much. Nothing like we saw. So snow stays on the northern half of the country where it typically is, and then southeast stays pretty much dry. But I'm not going to say that, because here. So here's the southeast is not just going to stay dry, okay? So you're going to get your periods of rain, okay? So it looks like the southeast does not stay dry. It looks like a good 7 inches in some spots, but and even parts of California that haven't seen rain for weeks could potentially get out some rain. Now, not rain that would probably cure the entire wildfire event, but some that will lead to wildfires being washed out. So here's the GFS model. Again, the GFS model kind of on board. The GFS model on board all the way, really, for the most part. So potentially pretty much the entire United States get on some sort of precipitation. And the GFS model is a lot more aggressive with the rainfall in parts of California. This looks a little bit more of a event you would want to see in the California area rather than wildfires, obviously. So 2 inches of rain can do a lot for wildfires, honestly, but it's not going to take it all out. But obviously, there's your lookout. Honestly, with these thunderstorms in the southeast, probably, again, it's pretty much the Dixie Alley dealing with much of that rainfall. And now, one other thing I wanted to talk about, the severe weather potential. So, there was a few areas that kind of wasn't really concerning, but, so the first event would probably be these thunderstorms. So this would be through the 27th, which I don't know if the HRR model goes through the 27th, but we'll have to see whether that validates or not. So it does not. So we can't really get any specifics on severe weather, but what we can do is take a look at the wind shear. Well, I guess that's really the only thing we can do. So it's kind of too late to tell, but I'll take a look at the shear right now, So the shear does not look that good, let's be honest. That does not look that good at all. So this is kind of what you want to see for a severe weather threat right here. So this is, but does the rain, it's around the 31st. So maybe a little bit of a more severe weather threat coming on at the very end of the very end of this month, with more, maybe a widespread, I wouldn't say widespread event, but maybe more of some sort of severe thunderstorm outbreak through the 30th through the 31st, so we'll have to see how that plays out. And then it doesn't look like any more severe weather would happen. But if we go with the GFS model, again, I didn't really take a look at these, but again, GFS model indicating is something as well. I think through the 31st, they think a little bit more of a, maybe not more of a severe weather threat, but something could develop, honestly. But yeah, there's that. Alright, so yeah, that's going to do it for this video. So we got a few things to look after. So obviously we've got the wildfire situation, which is not going to really diminish for a while until... So obviously we've got a few things to look out for. We've got a few winter storms that are possibly, and maybe even a severe weather threat during the later half of next week, potentially, around the 30th and 31st. Then more snowstorms possibly for the northeast and New England area. But other than that, we got a little bit of a warm-up coming, and we've got a little bit of a warm-up in the future. We've got some snow events potentially in the future, and maybe even some drought, and maybe even some wildfire relief for the California area. But yeah, that's really going to do it for this video. So yeah, hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy, please like the video, and at the very least consider subscribing. If not subscribed, that would help me out a lot. 50 subscribers has been accomplished. That's the first major milestone of this channel. Hopefully we can get more than that. But we'll see how things go. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you can. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Also, stay safe out there. Stay safe out there, but we'll see you in the next one. Bye.